Hey, I think I got some Cowboy fans messing with the show. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los
Live from the studios of the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the April 8th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. They've been Kistler Law. They've been fighting for you since '92. And of course, by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues. Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. My apologies, late on Monday, not active on Saturday. I've had all kinds of technical issues, and I was just getting ready to go on the air today, and then other things came up. So I think I got some cowboy gremlins running around in the machine, and so I think finally we got on. Thank you guys for being patient with me. I said I wouldn't be on the air Friday. My intention was to be on the air Saturday morning, and I just couldn't do it. I hate missing my marks. We're supposed to be on 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and if I'm not on, I'll let you know, or I'll move a show up or move a show back. I hate it. I hate missing marks. So I apologize. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for being here. And we're a little discombobulated, but we'll get back into our groove. One of the things we wanted to talk about today, well, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but wanted to talk about, we got a mock draft that was delivered to us from Dano. Steve Ramirez sent me one. I'll probably use that on Wednesday. We're going to do around the NFL and other places. Talk a little bit of women's college basketball, some thoughts on that people have been asking. And then, of course, we're going to remember Sean Gilbert. Maybe not so much what he did for the Rams, but what the Rams did in return in regards to Sean Gilbert. He was that other first-round pick out of the University of Pittsburgh that the Rams had back in the day. All right, let's hit this first. We're getting ready for the draft. It's a little bit of a dead period right now. So everyone's speculating, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, who are the free agents that are still out there? Could the Rams make a move? Could they adjust something here or there? I don't want to really get worried about salary cap, because we know salary cap can be manipulated. And I was thinking, who were the top free agents that are still out there that maybe people might, the Rams might, I might have interest in? One of the names was Stephon Gilmore, but I still think he wants more money, and that's why the Rams went with Tre'Davious White, because Gilmore is still kind of high up there. Cowboys couldn't sign him, and it wasn't because he was playing bad, probably because he still has some ideas of making some dough. I like Stephon Gilmore. He's just not a fit for the Rams right now, so he's gone. Another name that has surfaced with the Rams and the Chargers is OBJ. I'm not interested in OBJ, just not interested in OBJ at this point. If he wants to come in at the veterans minimum, fine. If he wants to come in at the veterans minimum for Jim Harbaugh, that's fine. But, you've seen it, right? You've seen it. Everyone talked last year how they finally got Lamar Jackson, a bunch of receivers. Well, they did. They got him OBJ, and OBJ just looked kind of ordinary last year. Now, maybe he needs another year to come back from his knee injury. But a lot of mileage, a lot of wear on those OBJ tires, which opens the door for me to talk about this guy, because this is a need the Rams have right now. And I'd love to hear everyone else's thoughts on it. And I'll get to everyone's questions and thoughts right at the break, I promise. But the name that came to me, and it's because I've liked this guy since 2008. It's Calais Campbell. I know he's old, right? He's been in the league since the days of Lombardi. Actually, it's 2008. He's going to be 38 this fall, but he played 17 games last year for the Falcons. Right now, he's a free agent. 6.5 sacks last year at the age of 37. He's 6'8", 282. Park him on the inside of that interior line there, a little defensive end, why not eat some space? I don't know how much he'd be asking. I think his estimation is somewhere between 5 and 7 rocks, but he would just be a great depth piece when you think of Kobe Turner, when you think of Bobby Brown, when you think of Laurel Murchison, when you think of Desjuan Johnson, when you think of Corey Durden. You're not going to replace Aaron Donald, but you can get some bodies in there that can help stabilize and add some depth to that defensive line. Campbell has 105 sacks in his career. He was drafted 50th overall in 2008. And I remember the day he was drafted because I remember seeing his profile and I didn't know what the story was. And then Mike Mayock, he was on the NFL Network in those days, said that, he had some issues in school and that caused him to drop in the draft. And he mentioned that the Cardinals got a first-round talent in the second round there with Calais Campbell. And whatever problems Campbell had in his youth, he sure left them all behind. He's had a stellar NFL career. He's been all pro, and he's still playing at a high level at the age of 37 going on 38. It'd be kind of a cool signing if the Rams could find a way to fit him in just for a depth piece heading into 2024. Something to think about. Other stuff that's coming up with the Rams. I was asked did I listen or see the Chris Long, Aaron Donald interview, and my answer is no, but I'll go further than that. I had no interest, right? I find the 5th round of this year's draft far more interesting than an Aaron Donald, Chris Long interview. I'm just not. I think sometimes, you don't learn much. I think that's the cynical reporter in me a little bit. You get into those conversations and you don't learn a whole lot, right? You hear something after the fact and there's nothing you can do about it now, right? It's like the story that broke over the weekend because we're so desperate for material that Rams were close for trading for Sam Howell. And suddenly that's a story. And because we're desperate for material right now between now and the draft. And there was just nothing that Aaron Donald had to say. And I love Aaron Donald. It's not that I'm anti Aaron Donald, but there's really nothing I needed to hear in that interview. I'd much rather look at the 5th round of the draft, right? Most in-depth interviews with athletes, I have to say, carry little interest for me because you discover so little. And so I just move on, right? And so forgive me if I sound callous, but that's just how I am. It's like, okay, that's great. Let's just keep going. And I love the past. I love history, but yeah, I just wasn't interested in the Aaron Donald, Chris Long interview. Michael Hoyt signed his tender, and of course, that turned into like it was big news. And I think we all knew the second the Rams tendered him, it was just a matter of time before he signed. No one else had picked him up. I like Michael Hoyt. I think Michael Hoyt is a perfect example of a player you develop. This guy went to Brown in the Ivy League, and the Rams are getting clicks out of him. I like Michael Hoyt, just not in pass coverage. So he's another guy at 6'4", 6'5", 3 spins. He's another guy that if you take care of some business on the edge, maybe we can get him to drop down and put his hand in the dirt again and play in that front 3 for the Rams. Maybe, just maybe. Am I not thinking in that regard? I don't know. Moving on, interesting thread since it is a desperate dead period time. Rams Rule, a really great site, just a commentating site for fans and everything. I clicked over to Rams Rule earlier today, and it had this, what was your one Rams moment, like your iconic Rams moment? And everyone has an iconic Rams moment, right? If you're really asking me, man, Rusty Jackson, the punter, spiking the ball after taking the safety in the 76 playoffs against the Cowboys that secured the Rams victory. That was a special moment for me, right? Ferragamo to Waddy, of course. Everett to Flipper, absolutely. Mike Jones making the tackle. Yes, I'm very much into the St. Louis years. I accept that title. If I ignore that title, that means I got to ignore Steven Jackson. So I'm taking that title, and I'm taking greatest show on turf. It's the Rams, right? 2 of Stafford to Kupp for the love of the game play in Tampa Bay. And, of course, the no-look pass in Super Bowl 56. But I don't know if it's a moment or it's an entire first half for me. But if somebody asks me, what's my Rams moment, it's Harold Jackson against the Dallas Cowboys, October 14th, 1973, on the radio. Didn't even see it. Game's blacked out. He scores 4 touchdowns in the first half. Absolutely torches Charlie Waters. And Al Clark makes the pick. Probably the most crystallized time in my Ramdom, in my Ram history. It's that game. That game made me a Ram fan for life. So wanted to get that in there. A little bit of draft news here. Guy we've been honking for, T'Vondre Sweat, the other Texas DT, that plays next to Byron Murphy, got popped with a WDI, driving while under the influence, 3 weeks before the draft. Bum, 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 right? Not a good look, Mr. Sweat, right? Bad look. You know, you can see a lot of teams just scratching that dude right there, right? And scratch him, but it makes me think of Calais Campbell. Whatever Calais Campbell did, I can't remember what it was that dropped him to 50th overall. T'Vondre Sweat might definitely drop into the 3rd round now, and maybe 3rd round at 99 if he's still there. At 83, he's still there. Then maybe you want to take a flyer on him unless he's just a real bad character dude. But whatever it is, he might not be a bad character dude, but he's obviously a brain dead character dude. You just don't get a DWI before the draft and cost yourself maybe $1 million or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You just don't do it. It's just brain dead, right? Brain dead. Reeks of a guy that's had everything laid out for him, that people have taken care of him in the past. And now that he's out of the University of Texas, there's no one to take care of him. So what a bummer. I still wouldn't have a problem seeing him in horns if he can play. Got to give him a second chance. Someone gave Calais Campbell a second chance, and it worked out. Question keeps popping up. Will the Rams move up in the draft, right? No one knows for sure, right? It's the Rams. But what's interesting, speaking of Texas defensive tackles, Byron Murphy is appearing inside of top 15 mocks right now, which means I've seen him going to the Colts at 15, and I've seen him over the weekend going as high as number 11 in some of the drafts. And that wasn't the case before. He's moving up. I had made the argument if the Rams were going to draft Byron Murphy, I had no problem with it, but I didn't think they had to move up because the highest place I had seen Murphy drafted, or even Jerzon Newton out of Illinois, was at 17, 18, 19. And one of those two guys were going to be there. It's interesting to see Murphy move up and what's causing that trend. Last line on that is, again, you're not going to replace Aaron Donald. So to me, it's get some space eaters, get some depth along that line, right? Find a T'Vondre Sweat if he's there at 83. Sign a Calais Campbell. Put Michael Hoyt's hand back in the dirt and move him inside a little bit. Just get depth along that defensive line. But I think it's at edge where the Rams really need to make a splash. If not a big trade, then I think it's Latu or Chop. Latu out of UCLA, Chop Robinson, Penn State. I know Chop Robinson fits all the metrics. Latu makes you nervous because of his draft history, but I can't move past the fact that Chop Robinson's production in college wasn't great. So I lean UCLA and I lean Latu on this one. But I still think moving back is the best of all options for the Rams. Pick up those extra picks. And we're going to look at Dano, loyal RamView follower Dano. We're going to look at his mock draft on the other side of the break. And he embraces the philosophy of moving back. Pick up more picks in the first 100. Offensively, a lot of the drafts right now are trending, showing the Rams going defense. But offensively, I think, you can expect a receiver, and I think a receiver can be found very deep into this draft, even all the way through the 3rd round. You can get something really, really special. But my thinking is, depending on how they view Zach Evans, the Rams could draft a running back as high as the 3rd round. Yeah, I think so. 5th round and through the 7th, it's a given. I could see them easily grabbing a running back. But to spend money on a running back or spend draft capital on a running back in the 3rd round, yeah, I could see it happening. I could, right? Could see it happening. Or if they make some wheeling dealings and get in the 4th round, that would be interesting as well. Draft order, just to make sure we got it all lined up again. Rams have right now 4 picks in the first 100, 19, 52, 83, 99. And they have 154, 155, 189, 209, 213, 217, and 254, 11 overall. Around the NFL and other places, the Texans reworked wisely Stephon Diggs' contract, voiding the last 3 years of the deal and pushing the guaranteed money forward. So Diggs will become a free agent in 2025. I think it's a great move by the Texans. Find out how serious Diggs is and find out how much he's got left. I think Diggs is a more than competent receiver, but he's just not a number one anymore. He feels a lot more like Emmanuel Sanders than what Stephon Diggs was. And I think that was kind of apparent in the playoffs last year. Ravens re-signed Kyle Van Noy. Good for Kyle Van Noy. I wouldn't have minded having him. I wouldn't have, but of course he probably got a better deal there. Since it is around the NBL and around the NFL and other places, a little bit of a basketball here because over the weekend it was the big deal, the Caitlin Clark saga, WNBA, all that stuff, right? I can say this, the NBA is more interested in the success of Caitlin Clark than the WNBA ball players are, right? You hear it in the voices of the WNBA establishment when they should be excited about Clark raising the profile of their league. They're bitter and they're obviously envious, right? The WNBA can be that way because they're living off NBA welfare money, right? It's a disaster in terms of revenue. The WNBA without the NBA would have been gone 20 years ago. It exists only so the NBA can champion itself as diverse, open, woke, and all that kind of garbage, right? But the NBA would like to see the WNBA make money, ease their burden, right? But the WNBA is not like the AFL, which embraced Joe Namath, or the USFL, which brought in Herschel Walker and Doug Flutie with the idea of raising all boats. The WNBA players have no vision, and to be honest, no real ability for growth. There's some exceptional players. Caitlin Clark obviously is going to be one of them, but honestly, it's not good basketball. And I think the WNBA is kind of boring, actually, because they try to get the girls to play like men when the best part about women's basketball is fundamental basketball, right? And you got the few that are outliers like Caitlin Clark, but overall, it's a bad product. So they need Caitlin Clark. The ladies in the WNBA are petty, and unless Caitlin Clark comes out joins a member of the joins an alphabet group, or publicly voices strong hatred towards Donald Trump, or becomes a big advocate for climate change, she's going to be public enemy number one. The WNBA, I know this firsthand, scoop, inside stuff here. The WNBA is toxic. It's absolutely toxic. So I'm rooting for Clark to stay Iowa strong and have a great career and to not capitulate her values and the things she believes in just to kind of fit in with that mob that's the WNBA. Also, to clear up a couple of misnomers, people were saying Caitlin Clark can get men to watch the WNBA. The men are the highest demographic of people that watch the WNBA, not even women. The ladies don't watch the WNBA. And if you want to say Caitlin Clark is better than Cheryl Miller, okay. If you want to say Cheryl Miller is better than Caitlin Clark, that's okay too. I've seen both play. They are the two greatest I've ever seen. And that includes Candace Parker and Diana Taurasi and all them. I still lean Caitlin Clark or Cheryl Miller. But for me, because I saw her play, no one played the women's game like Cheryl Miller. Cheryl Miller was the best ever. So Cheryl Miller, Caitlin Clark, and the rest are all number three behind them. All right. I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years. Now I write books, and I do RamView, thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. A little discombobulated. I still get hot about my technological issues today and on Saturday. So I appreciate your guys' grace on this. And so, yeah, I do RamView and I do this because it helps support me in my day job. I am a pastor of a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene. You can find our channel right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, as well as burbankfaithvirtual.com and Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. All right, we do have a couple of questions here. Awesome sauce. I'm really excited that we got viewers right now because I know we're getting ready for that game if it hasn't started already. Go Purdue, but UConn's great, and I think UConn's going to win that game. USA Expat, worth the wait. You're a stud, man. You're a stud. Thank you, USA Expat. I hope Costa Rica treated you fine and that you're back home. Tim Burns, Sam Howell. I don't get it. I like Sam Howell. I do like Sam Howell. I could dance with Sam Howell. Sam Howell, with a couple of years in the Rams system, he could be that bridge quarterback for a year or two after Stafford rides off into the sunset. I kind of like Sam Howell, but the only problem was he was playing for Ron Rivera, this decade's version of Jeff Fisher. There, I said it. I mentioned him by name. Tim Burns, Cooper DeJean had a great pro day. Go to say his name again at 19. But, okay, let me ask you this, Tim Burns. Honest, in your heart of hearts, are the Rams going to draft at 19? Just tell me what you think. In fact, I'd like a vote from all you people. Do you really think the Rams are going to draft at 19? USA expat. Darius Robinson, too, gets a lot of buzz. Yes, he is. Tim Burns, Jake Bakes, UFL, Arkansas, Texas State, kicker 64-62. Yeah, he has a boom of a leg. We talked about that. I feel like we're ahead of the curve here because I think last Monday, we talked about that, the Rams could draft a kicker 6th or 7th in this year's draft. But the idea was, it's like, man, look at out of those 8 teams, you're telling me there's not one kicker the Rams couldn't get their hands on in the UFL? I'm all down. I'm down. I want a kicker that's just got experience, right? It's always between the ears with those dudes. Always, it seems like. Tim Burns, his moment in time, the Mike Jones tackle in the Super Bowl. Wasn't that a great tackle? I mean, just a great tackle. Number 52 should be retired. It should be retired. You still hear Al Michaels saying, and Mike Jones makes the tackle. If another podcast did not have that Al Michaels clip, I would have that clip to open the show. Mike Jones making the tackle. All right. USA expat. You need to get arrested in Russia to make a name for yourself in the WNBA. Yeah, that's for sure. Tim Burns, son getting me a Caitlin Clark, Iowa home jersey. Hey, I get it, man. I get it. She's a lot of fun to watch, and she's ice. She's tough. And what I appreciated about her, watching her, was when her shot wasn't on, she created for her teammates. She kept playing defense. She's got a rounded game. And so I think that's probably what endears her to her teammates. Tim Burns, Cheryl scored a true 100-point game and is the GOAT. Yeah. Speaking of Cheryl Miller, yeah. I was like my senior year in high school when she was her first year at USC, and she played with the McGee twins. I mean, I'm joking. I'm a big guy, man. But Linda Sharp was the head coach, Cynthia Cooper, Rhonda Windham, Cheryl Miller, Pam and Paula McGee. Those USC teams, they beat Louisiana Tech, who had Kim Mulkey, and then they beat Tennessee, right, with their legendary coach there too, Pat Summitt. And so yeah, that was a great USC team. And I remember it was so funny. They're being interviewed post game, and Cheryl Miller's between Pam and Paula McGee, and they're all, they're sweating and they're excited after they won a big game. And Cheryl Miller says, "Hey, we all just love each other." And then she goes, but we're straight though. We're straight, right? Can you imagine if that scene happened 40 years later today, that Cheryl Miller's between the McGee twins, and she says, "Hey man, we just all love each other, but we're straight," right? And kind of tells you something about women's ball, what was developing back in those days. So yeah, I'm always pro Cheryl Miller. Bill clicking in. Good to see you, Bill. Trade back. Yeah, that's where I am. I'm leaning trade back. Pick up more picks. Tim Burns, trading down in my heart. Okay, so you see them moving. When we say trading down, like going from 19 to 14, 13, is that what you mean? I'm thinking in terms of trading back, going backwards, trading up, going to, 10th, 12th, 13th or something. I think I know what you mean there. Dano, Rams are trading back, but hoping they trade up to snag Joe Alt. I don't want them to do that, Dano. I don't. But if they do, I'm not going to be upset unless they decide not to draft Joe Alt, but draft Greg Robinson or something. I'm just going to give Snead the benefit of the doubt. Okay. Bill, I remember that Bruce catch in the Super Bowl and the bar going nuts. What a moment. I saw how do I say this? I was working that night. I was a youth pastor, and my church had Sunday night services, which exceeded well over 100 people. So we weren't going to cancel service, but it was the first year in 5 that we didn't have a Sunday night or a Super Bowl party for the church. We'd go to the gym, put the big screen up and all that. And sure enough, the year the Rams made the Super Bowl, we canceled the Super Bowl party. And I knew the Rams were up 16-0. So I'm sitting in church and I'm just hoping my pastor doesn't go too long with his sermon and everything. And I'm getting updates. My friend, Dwayne Barker from Mid-Valley Sports, we eventually worked together and everything. He's kind of whispering and communicating to me it's 16-3, 16-6, 16-13. And just before service ended, I got the note that the Rams scored and we're ahead 23-16. As soon as the amen came in the benediction, I raced through a side door, went into our lounge, turned on the TV, and it was the play where Steve McNair made that scramble where nobody can get him, and he got down, deep into Ram territory, and then it set up the last play. So I saw Mike Jones play, but I didn't see the Isaac Bruce catch until replay. So I'm outing myself. There you go. There you go. Manuel Correa, how's it going? I'm going good, Manuel. Thank you for asking. I'm back on the air. Tim Burns, trading back for more picks. Preach, Tim Burns. Let's trade back for more picks. Manuel Correa, I got your book before me. Won't put it down. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Everyone take a page out of Tim Burns and Manuel Correa's playbook there and pick up Tangent Dreams. There you go. Tangent Dreams available on Amazon. And then you can pick up other fine works by Joe Terosian to help keep the lights on. Okay. Manuel Correa, I see trading back with Dallas or Detroit. Detroit's always an option, right? Because of the relationship with Brad Holmes. Tim Burns, scary thought you have to draft one knowing what we know now, Tony Banks and Sam Bradford. Yeah. Is there any part of any of you feel that if Sam Bradford had gone to Sean McVay, that something different would have happened with Sam Bradford? I like Sam Bradford. Of course, those 2 years back-to-back of consecutive knee injuries really set him back. But it seemed like Sam Bradford reached a plateau, and just never went to the next level. Is that fair to say? I'm curious about Sam Bradford. I don't want to call Sam Bradford a total bust, but it just seems like he plateaued. But of course, he had Jeff Fisher. He had Steve Spagnuolo. What would have happened if Sean McVay got his hands on Sam Bradford early in his career? Just a thought there. Okay. Thank you guys for the questions, and keep throwing them up there. We'll get to them before we go. If you guys got to go and watch the finals, I'm not offended at all. Not offended at all. Go check out UConn, Purdue. It should be a pretty good game. This is Dan O's mock draft. Dan O, thank you for sending it to me. And we'll get to Steve Ramirez's on Wednesday. There's a little more tongue-in-cheek with Steve Ramirez's mock draft. But Dan O, who does not like the idea of trading back, because I think he's a Joe Alt guy, but he did trade back. He traded back in his mock draft with Green Bay and went from 19 to 25. And at the 25th pick overall, he found Olum Fashanu, left tackle, Penn State. I'm feeling we're okay at tackle right now, but if someone like Fashanu is there at number 25 still. Now, I know that dude was inside the top 10 for January, February, but he has dropped into the teen range, 10 to 17. I've seen him in there. If that dude was to drop to the Rams at 25, yes, take him. If that's where the algorithm of your draft board said, then you take Olum Fashanu. At number 52, Keon Coleman, a wide receiver, makes perfect sense to me. Coleman is 6'4", 215, contested catch guy, strong hands. He's got some good speed. They just say he doesn't have a lot of wiggle, but when you think about where the Rams are at, what are we going to get in Cooper Kupp? The kind of game that Puka Nacua plays, I think, is going to be prone to injury. Demarcus Robinson's on a 1-year deal at the age of 29. Tutu Atwell's a free agent. Yeah, the Rams are going to need to add some depth in that wide receiver room, thinking in terms of 2025. Number 83, love this. If Braylon Trice is there, and Braylon Trice for Dano, the edge from Washington, was there, then I'm taking Braylon Trice. If he's the guy that's there, then awesome. Remember, as quarterbacks get pushed up, some people drop back, right? And then there's that panic buying. I think it was 4th round last year when all the quarterbacks started going, right? People started making deals. Saints made the deal to move up, I think, to grab the Fresno State quarterback. His name escapes me right now. Then the Rams did the Stetson Bennett deal, and teams, there's always a rush somewhere. And if a rush happens, good players can get pushed back. And so if Braylon Trice is at 83, I'll dance. And this is what I like about the pick. In moving back with the Packers, Dano not only got their 25th pick, but their 88th overall pick in the 3rd round. That gives the Rams 5 picks in the first 100. I'm all down with that. And the Rams here has the Rams taking Javon Bullard, safety, Georgia. So a lot of safety projections I'm seeing in terms of people saying the Rams are going to draft a safety, which I don't have a hard time believing. I like Russ Yeast. I want to see him develop. I want to see Jason Taylor, but let's find out. Let's find out if the Rams get something here. And a Georgia guy, okay, I'm going to take a flyer on a Georgia guy. The guy's got rings. So Javon Bullard, I like that pick. I like number 99, Chris Abrams-Drain, cornerback, Missouri. Another depth piece there because you don't know what you're going to have in Tre'Davious White coming 2025. You don't know what you're going to have with a 31-year-old Darius Williams in 2025. This might be the year that you get out of those guys. The Rams squeezed 2018 out of Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib halfway through the 2019 season. Both those guys were gone. So you're looking for depth. What do we have in Travis Hodges Tomlinson? We're going to find out. Kobe Durant, Darian Kendrick. So we're going to find out there. And then you add a Chris Abrams-Drain, the cornerback, the other cornerback out of Missouri, the bookend to Enos Rakestraw. So, yeah, I kind of like that one too. Rams at 154. Dano has them taking Clemson defensive tackle, Tyler Davis. I'm all down with that, especially if they sign Calais Campbell. Number 155, Michael Pratt, quarterback, Tulane. Talk to me on that one, Dano. Talk to me on that one. At 155, I see a quarterback 6th round, maybe 7th round, and Michael Pratt, right? Let me know about Michael Pratt. At 196, he has the Rams taking cornerback Josh Newton, TCU, another Horned Frog. Rams like their Horned Frogs, but they also, this is the running mate with THT, a TCU guy they drafted last year, Josh Newton this year. He's bigger, he's experienced. He struggles in flat-out speed issues, but if he's, I believe, in a zone, that could work. So we'll find out about him. And this is the Dano special. At 6'1", 200 pounds, Tyrone Tracy Jr., running back, Purdue, channeling some Leroy Keys there for Dano. Dano likes this guy in terms of versatility and return game. And if Dano likes that, I do like that pick. I'm not as hip on 213. When I mean hip, I'm not as up to date of knowing Tyron Hopper, linebacker, Missouri, at 213, and then at 217, Layden Robinson, inside offensive lineman, guard, center out of Texas A&M. I'm familiar with 254, Cameron Little. Cameron Little at 254, battling with a UFL guy, and maybe Tanner Brown to be the Rams kicker I'm good with. The guy that was that Chad Reuter that had the Rams taking Cameron Little at 99. Yeah, insane. And people get paid to do that job. Insane. I like Cameron Little at 254, Dano. So good job, man. Good job. I do like that. I am in on that Tyrone Tracy. That is a headliner that I want to keep my eyes on going forward. No new names to add to the Rams interview process there. They always keep that close to the vest. I'm not going to do an outside mock draft because we had Danos today. taking a look here. Want to remind everybody within the division, the 49ers have 4 picks in the top 100. 31, 63, 94, and 98. They've got contract issues. They got Brandon Ayuk screaming for everything. My belief is if I'm the 49ers, I'm dealing Ayuk. I'm going to get another pick in the top 100, and I'm going to rebuild this roster. They're going to fall back next year a little bit. I think they'll still be a playoff team, and they're still going to be dangerous to the Rams, but the 49ers are going to have some pain. Cardinals are the team that scare me, especially if they trade out of that Marvin Harrison slot at number 4. They're going to pick up some serious picks, and they've already got 6 picks in the first round. They got the 4th pick, the 27th pick, the 35th pick, 66, 71, and 90. Cardinals are loaded. That's a team that scare me for 2025. Seahawks have 3 picks, 16, 78, and 81. So just some stuff to keep an eye on within the division. Okay, let's go.
It was a stone group.
It was a stone groove, but we're not done. And I promise I'll get to you guys' questions. On this date in Ram history, April 8th, 1976, the Rams drafted linebacker Kevin McClain, linebacker with the 26th overall pick. He was a whiff. But at number 39, they took Pat Thomas. At number 86, they took Jackie Slater. And at number 128, they took Carl Eckern. Those last 3 guys alone had input, had an effect on the Rams all the way through the early 90s because Jackie Slater played so long. Carl Eckern played to the late 80s, and Pat Thomas played at an all-pro level up through 81. So, yeah, that was a great draft for the Rams. On this date in 1996, the Rams traded Sean Gilbert to the Washington Redskins. Sean Gilbert was the 3rd overall pick in 1992 out of the University of Pittsburgh. You know, in the 80s, the Rams had Greg Meisner. He was a middle round pick from Pittsburgh. In the 90s, they had Sean Gilbert, a 3rd overall pick from Pittsburgh. And then, of course, we know this guy named Donald was a pretty popular pick out of Pittsburgh, all DTs. Sean Gilbert was a bust. Let's just say what he was, right? He had 1 season for the Rams. In 93, he had 10.5 sacks, made a Pro Bowl, but he never came close again to double-digit sacks. He wore number 90, so made you think of Larry Brooks. But here's what the Rams did. And again, you know how hard I am in that whole John Shaw era. In 1996, on this date, 28 years ago, the Rams traded this bust, Sean Gilbert, to the Washington Redskins for the 6th overall pick in the draft. A number 1 draft pick, a top 6 pick in the 1996 draft. That's pretty good, right? Yeah, good things don't last because the Rams spent that top draft pick on Lawrence Phillips. So, you know, just when you think they're going to do it, they pull you back down again. Wanted to throw that in there. Born on this date in 1986, Rams had Mr. Irrelevant, David Vobora, played for the team as a linebacker for 3 years. He turns 38 today. He started 16 games, appeared in 34, special team guy. But, you know, the Rams got another Mr. Irrelevant right now in DeJuan Johnson, so it's not anything foreign to them. Sad day on this day in 2016, Doug France passed away at the age of 62. France was drafted 20th overall in 1975 out of Ohio State. Left tackle for the Rams, replaced Charlie Cowan, was Pro Bowler a couple years in a row, high-end tackle, played some tight end in college. Very boisterous, though. He spoke a lot about racial issues. He said there was a divide. You didn't know how much of that was just his personality. He kind of had like an angst personality, and how much of it was true. But France also was angry with Ram fans. 79. I still have a cutout article from the Times where it says France chides Ram fans, cheap Ram fans. This Super Bowl ain't theirs, and because of all that stuff that happened in 79. And I've shared enough about that. But France was a great left tackle until injuries started to catch up with him. Only appeared in 8 games in 81. Lost his job to Irv Pankey. In 82, he retired, and then he came out of retirement to play for Houston. So the Rams traded his rights to the Houston Oilers in the summer of 83, and they got a 10th round pick for him. And that 10th round pick turned out to be super special teams guy for 2 years, Norwood Van. I got a high five from Norwood Van at a game. So just put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I think we got all that in. Oh, I want to say tomorrow, happy birthday. Rob Scribner turns 73 tomorrow. UCLA guy, undrafted free agent, played with the Rams 73 through 76. Had his best game in a late season game against the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1975. Led the Rams in rushing in that game. Pretty good for a undrafted free agent. Had a nice career. Became a minister, and I believe still pastors a church, maybe in Orange County. So there you go. There's your Ram stuff. Let me see here. DHP, thank you so much for clicking on. Sam Bradford would never have worked out with anyone. He was not durable. Your best ability is availability in the NFL. There you go. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you on that. I thought those first couple years he did play a lot, but those teams were just so bad. And then when I remember saying it when it felt like the Rams were going to turn a corner, and I was wrong, of course. They were never going to turn a corner with a Jeff Fisher. They were always going to be in that turn. Then he started getting hurt, basically missed half of one season and all of the next when he got injured first snap in preseason. But yeah, okay, I'm not going to argue with you on that one. Manuel Correa, we'll have good players available at 19. I do believe there will be good players, great players available all up and down in the first 100 of this draft. But what does your heart tell you? Does your heart tell you, are the Rams going to move back or are the Rams going to move up? Tim Burns, they are predicting 8.5 wins for the Rams this season. Thoughts? I'm going 11-6, not knowing order of schedule. Is that the Vegas prediction? I hope you were here a year ago. That makes me angry. I hope you were here a year ago, because a year ago when Vegas came out and said 4 wins or 5 wins, we were right here on this show. And there was only one other person that was doing it. It was Ella Bogan on his show. I give full credit to Ella Bogan. But we were saying that low end for the Rams in 2023 was going to be 7 wins. They were an 8 to 9 win team. And if some things broke their way, they were going to win 10 games. And I remember predicting that they would probably lose their first 3 games. Instead, they came out and won in Seattle, and they should have won a whole bunch of other games. Rams were 10-7 last year. I saw the Rams as a 12-win team this year, but I'm going to give away a win. I think they can easily be 11-6 with the Aaron Donald retirement, because I think there's going to be an adjustment there, because you're not going to have that guy who makes that great big play on defense. As of now, you don't have him anyway. So yeah, 8.5 wins for the Rams. Really? Yeah. I know we're supposed to say Vegas is always right, but Vegas was stone cold dead wrong on the Rams, weren't they? They were. USA Expat, as all teams finalize their big boards, we will be flooded with misinformation. It's starting already. Yeah, remember the Mac Jones talk a couple years ago about, hey, man, 49ers might take Mac Jones. You might take him at number 3, right? And everything. And it's funny, maybe they should have, because he's been more productive than Trey Lance, but, we'll leave that as it is. This is the time. And that's the time where guys like me and all of us, we have to really keep our discerning hats on, because there is going to be a lot of misinformation. Good call there, USA Expat. Manuel Correa, Braylon Trice, Marshawn Nealon, Jonah Ellis, Austin Burker would make me happy, right? Any place from 52 to 99, those guys would make me happy too, Manuel. I totally agree with you. Manuel Correa, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Notre Dame would be sweet. You know what? I've not done my homework on that dude. I will do my homework on that dude. Yeah, Manuel, you got my email. So yes, please send me your mock draft. All you guys, send me your mock draft. I will put my email back in here again, just so you guys can see it. And if you have a mock draft, send it to me, and we'll go from there. All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, our numbers are picking up the closer the game gets to. I don't know what to say. If anyone has any questions out there, feel free to throw them at me. The one thing I will highlight on a little bit, when I said I have no interest in the Chris Long, Aaron Donald interview, it's how great Aaron Donald is, right? And so when Aaron Donald retired, I didn't need to recite how great he was and what he meant to the Rams organization and blah, 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 and all that stuff. That. I don't spend a lot of time talking about how great Cooper Kupp is or how great Puka Nacua is. And And because I think you know those things. I think we all know those things. And to use seconds or minutes of a show that I try to keep at 50 minutes, no higher than 50 minutes. This is the sweet spot here, 40. I don't want to hit you with stuff. And sometimes I feel like when shows, especially this time of year, because information is slow getting out, I'd rather talk about Calais Campbell being available than talk about how great a player we all know is great. It's not new information. It adds nothing. I find myself when I'm listening to a sports talk show, because I've actually, because of taking my daughter to school, I've had to listen to it more since my wife's injury. I find myself changing the channel when they interview an athlete. There's very few athletes I want to hear talk, or sports personalities I want to hear talk. I'd much rather hear Colin Cowherd breaking down what he thinks about what the Cowboys should do, how this should work and stuff. Yeah, so I wanted to get that out, just my personality, and that's just kind of where I come from on that stuff. All right, let's see here. Dano, quarterback Michael Pratt, completion percentage improved every year, good size and mobility. Let him sit a few years and develop. Okay, all right. Nate Wiggins, Manuel Correa reminds me of Jackie Wallace. Jackie Wallace, right? Viking, Ram. I remember him playing a lot of corner for the Vikings, but being just a punt returner for the Rams. I want Wiggins to have a better career than that for the Rams. I want him to be a guy you could lock in. Wouldn't it be great if he becomes our Todd Light for the next decade, right? Yeah. How great was Todd Light? Get me some Todd Light and stuff. I do apologize. One of the things I was going to get into on Saturday, I was going to get into it on Friday, but because of I was busy on Friday and technical issues on Saturday, it was Mark Bulger's birthday. And I wanted to acknowledge Mark Bulger. And I've been wanting to do a breakdown on Mark Bulger because I think Mark Bulger just gets overlooked. He played on some really bad Ram teams. He played on the greatest show on turf teams as everything started aging around him. That offensive line started aging, and Mike Martz, his offense, God bless it, really left those quarterbacks exposed. And Mark Bulger was a good quarterback. Can I get an amen out of that? And I want to do my Mark Bulger breakdown. And at some point in the next few weeks, I'm just going to wedge Mark Bulger in here because I am a Mark Bulger fan who, he's like the Steven Jackson, right? It's like not as great as Steven Jackson, but it's just, these poor guys, right? They're just on these lousy teams with some lousy drafts, right? So anyway, all right. I think we're good. I think we got it all out. Nate Wiggins reminds me of Jackie Wallace. That's a throw to the past. Okay, guys, I appreciate everyone being on. I do. A live audience. I hate walking away from it. Please hit like, hit subscribe. You guys got my email. If you have questions, drop them in there and we'll try to answer them and get them going. You guys are the best, man. You're very encouraging. Thank you for your patience with me this weekend because we try to hit our marks. This Friday, I will probably be on closer to 3:00 than 5:00. And just to give you a heads up, Wednesday, 5:00, everything will be the same. All right, guys, God bless. Take care. If you're in Costa Rica, Denmark, or Canada, thank you for watching RamView, and of course, in the great USA. God bless. Take care. We will talk to you soon. Oh, still working on Spotify.